she wasn't supposed to sit there. The cafe was crowded, loud with the clinking of cups and quiet conversations, but that one chair, right across from him, was meant for someone else. He had been waiting for over 30 minutes, glancing at his watch, rehearsing apologies he didn't owe and explanations he didn't believe. And just when he was about to give up on yet another disappointment, she appeared, and sat down by mistake. If you believe that some moments in life are not accidents but part of a greater plan, then pause for a second, like this video, drop a comment, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Dreamy Love Tales for more stories that touch the soul. She didn't even realize at first. She simply placed her bag on the chair, exhaled like someone who had been running from something invisible, and wrapped her fingers around the warm cup the waiter had just set down. Her eyes were tired, but not empty. There was a storm behind them, the kind that doesn't make noise but destroys everything quietly. He noticed immediately. At first, he thought she was the person he had been waiting for. The timing, the seat, the coincidence, it all aligned too perfectly. But something about her expression felt different. She wasn't nervous like someone meeting a stranger, she looked lost. Like she had wandered into a moment that wasn't meant for her. He cleared his throat, unsure whether to speak or remain silent. Life had taught him that interruptions often lead to misunderstandings, but silence sometimes leads to missed miracles. And this moment felt like it could be either. She finally looked up, her eyes meeting his, and for a second, both of them froze. There was confusion, then realization, then a flicker of embarrassment. She quickly apologized, gathering her things, explaining that she thought the table was free. Her voice trembled slightly, not because of the mistake, but because something deeper was weighing on her. He surprised himself by saying she could stay. It wasn't politeness. It wasn't even kindness. It felt like instinct. Maybe it was the way her hands slightly shook, or how she avoided eye contact after apologizing, or how her shoulders carried a weight that seemed too heavy for one person. Something in him recognized that weight. Something in him understood it. So she stayed. What began as an awkward accident slowly turned into a quiet connection. They didn't rush into conversation. Instead, they sat in a strange, comfortable silence that didn't feel forced. It felt like two broken pieces resting side by side, unsure if they belonged together, but too tired to move apart. He had his own reasons for being there. That day was supposed to change his life. He had finally gathered the courage to meet someone his family had been encouraging him to see. After years of heartbreak and disappointment, he had agreed to try again. To open his heart, just a little. But as minutes turned into an hour, it became painfully clear that the person he had been waiting for wasn't coming. Again. It wasn't the first time life had made him feel like an afterthought. Across from him, she carried a different kind of pain. She had just walked out of something that had taken years of her life. A relationship that had slowly drained her of her confidence, her joy, and her sense of self. She didn't leave because she stopped loving. She left because she finally realized she deserved to be loved in return. But walking away doesn't instantly heal the wounds. Sometimes, it makes them feel even deeper. That cafe wasn't her destination. It was just a place to sit down and breathe, to escape the storm inside her chest for a few minutes. She didn't know why she chose that table. She didn't know why she didn't leave immediately after realizing her mistake. Maybe, deep down, she needed someone to notice her pain without asking too many questions. And somehow, he did. Their conversation began slowly, like a hesitant sunrise. Small topics turned into meaningful ones. Strangers turned into listeners. And without realizing it, they began to share pieces of themselves they hadn't shared with anyone in a long time. He spoke about disappointment, about feeling invisible, about how hope had become something fragile in his life. She spoke about loss, about giving too much, about how she had forgotten what it felt like to be chosen. There was no judgment. Only understanding. Time seemed to slow down around them. The noise of the cafe faded into the background, leaving just the two of them in a moment that felt oddly significant. He noticed the way she smiled when she talked about things she once loved. She noticed the way his eyes softened when he spoke about things that had hurt him. There was no pretense, no performance, just two people being real in a world that often demands masks. And then came the realization. He wasn't waiting for the wrong person. He had been waiting for the right moment. And she wasn't sitting there by mistake. She was sitting there because something, call it fate, destiny, or something greater, had guided her to that exact place, at that exact time. The idea felt almost too simple, too poetic to be real. But sometimes, the most meaningful things in life don't come with logic. They come with timing. As the hours passed, something inside both of them began to shift. The heaviness they had carried into that cafe didn't disappear, but it felt lighter. Manageable. Shared. For the first time in a long time, he didn't feel like he was waiting anymore. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was running anymore. They were just there. Together. And in that simple, quiet togetherness, something beautiful began to grow. Not love. Not yet. But something just as powerful. Hope. If this story is touching your heart so far, take a moment to like the video, leave a comment about how it makes you feel, and share it with someone who might need a little hope today. As the evening light filtered through the cafe windows, painting everything in soft gold, reality slowly returned. They both knew this moment couldn't last forever. Life outside those walls was still waiting for them, with all its challenges and uncertainties. But something had changed. Something important. They exchanged numbers, not with expectations, but with quiet understanding. There were no promises, no dramatic confessions. Just a simple acknowledgement that this connection mattered. Days turned into weeks. They didn't rush into anything. Instead, they built something steady. Something real. They met again, not by accident this time, but by choice. Each meeting felt like adding another piece to a puzzle neither of them knew they were trying to complete. He began to believe in timing again. She began to believe in herself again. And slowly, without forcing it, love found its way into the spaces between them. It wasn't loud. It wasn't overwhelming. It was gentle. The kind of love that heals instead of hurting. The kind of love that feels like coming home. They never forgot how it began. A mistake. A wrong seat. A random moment in a crowded cafe. But the truth was, it was never random. It was a moment carefully placed in their lives, at a time when they needed it the most. A reminder that sometimes, what feels like a delay is actually preparation. Sometimes, what feels like a mistake is actually direction. And sometimes, the person you weren't looking for is exactly the one you were meant to find. Before we reach the end, here's a special request. Comment below with the word destiny, if you believe that some people are meant to find each other no matter how unexpected the moment is. Years later, they would sit in that same cafe, at that same table, smiling at the memory of how it all began. The pain they once carried had turned into strength. The uncertainty had turned into trust. And the mistake had turned into a miracle. So if you're waiting for something, or someone, and it feels like life is delaying your happiness, remember this story. Sometimes, the wait isn't empty. It's just making sure that when the right moment comes, you're exactly where you need to be. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps bring more stories like this to life, and you never know who might need to hear this today.